Hello and welcome to the home of the Ghost Owl, and we've been through all 8 laws of magic on in the main Warhammer rulebook. And as we're going through them, you look at the different spells. You go, this one looks good, this one looks bad, this one looks okay. But overall, I didn't really kind of get a sense that a law of magic had a particular flavour. It just gut feel. Didn't feel like, oh, if I want to do this, this is the law of magic that I want to take. So I thought I'd put some numbers behind that thought, and let's see how some of those laws of magic come up, just in terms of those sort of gut feels. So without further ado, let's take a look. So I've put this table together, and I've taken the 8 laws of magic in the book. I've looked at how many enchantment, hex, conveyance, magic missile, magical vortex, and settlement spells they have. And then we've looked at what the maximum range spell they have, but what the average range of their spells. So what's the average reach on the tabletop for that law of magic. And then we've looked at what the lowest casting value is and what the average casting value is. Because some of it, you go away and you go, cool, that had a casting value of 10. This one had a casting... Man, this law of magic's got some really high casting values. But how does it play out overall? So, like I say, there's this gut feel in your mind, and then you go, let's go and actually look at it on paper and statistics and see, does the gut feel ring true? So, the first thing you can see, when you start looking at the laws of magic and you look at the different spells they've got, I think the reason that you don't get any flavour, or it feels like there's a lack of flavour across the laws of magic, is they're pretty much all the same in terms of what they've got. Every single law of magic has 1 conveyance, 1 magic missile, 1 magical vortex. Only 1 law of magic has 2 assailment spells. And everything else is just a mixture of 1 enchantment or 2 enchantment, 1 hex or 2 hex. So there's no law of magic where you go, man, I want to do some ranged damage, right? I want to go with this law of magic, or I want to do some movement shenanigans, or I want this to be like a bunch of combat wizards, and they've got a bunch of combat spells. There's nothing like that, and I'm not sure if that's a good thing. I mean, there's the whole thing about balance, and I get that, and you want the laws of magic to be balanced. We don't want... Personally, I didn't enjoy magic in the 8th edition. I did think that it was a bit overpowered. Personally, it's a personal opinion. I know some people don't, but my personal opinion is magic in the 8th edition was a bit too much on the tabletop. I don't mind that the spells have been reined in terms of their impact on the game. I do kind of mind that they just all feel the same. And yeah, they all do some little different thing. You go into the words and this one does this different. But they're all kind of doing the same thing overall. And they all kind of feel the same, right? Because you've got this, an interesting balance. It would have been interesting to see a law of magic that, for example, had 1 enchantment, no hex, no conveyance, but 3 magical missile, or something like that, or another one that had 3 or 4 assailment spells and 0 in some other categories. So you can clearly see when you actually go and look at the stats of what there is, that the laws of magic, they're all pretty much the same, and all that's been done is a tweak of the numbers in each of the spells, which personally it just feels to say it's a little bit low effort, for want of a better term, to not have some more flavour in it. Does illusion really feel like illusion magic? Does the necromancy really feel like necromancy magic, or demonology feel really like demonology magic? I'm not sure I get that feeling that I would know that I'm playing with illusion style magic. Right? Is it doing things that you would associate with illusion style of magic? And you think when you play, I'm going to take it back to video games, right? Video games where there's lots of video games out there where you're casting spells, and you know if the person is playing something that does demonology or does necromancy or illusion. You can tell by what they're doing and how they're operating, and they're not all trying to do the same thing. In fact, they're deliberately not, so that the player feels like he's playing a different different class or a different law of magic. In this law of magic, I don't not sure I feel the difference as much in it. I'd like to know what you guys think about that as well. And then we came to the maximum range to see, like, is there any laws of magic that have long range, limited range? So we can see that. In terms of maximum range, only 2 laws of magic, dark magic and battle magic, have a spell that truly reaches out to 24 inches. But they're all roughly the same. The only one that kind of stands out is illusion. Its maximum range is 15 inches. It has nothing else beyond 15 inches. But the others, they're all reasonably. They've all got some spells that have some reasonable reach, right? That go out to the near maximum of 24. But then when you look at the average and go, what's the average? Well, you can clearly see battle magic, demonology, elementalism, dark magic, they're all pretty high in terms of, with elementalism being the highest, in fact, on average. So on average, it has more spells that have a longer reach, which means you have more options at range and can impact the battlefield over a wider area than something where you look at high magic or illusion, which only has an average range of 8 inches. That it's got high magic has a spell that goes up to 18 inches, but what I'm saying is it has a lot of spells that have a much lower range. So your choice of what you can do with those conveyance, hex, enchantment, magic missile is significantly lower, right? Because you can impact less of the tabletop. So I think that was quite interesting to look at, and you can clearly see the 3 spell laws that stuck out to me from a gut feel and a reading off the page perspective was battle magic, demonology, and dark magic. And we can clearly see with those 3 spell laws, you've got high range and pretty good average range as well. So I think that's quite interesting. And then we look at the casting values, right? How difficult is the law to cast? And again, there was I had some gut feel as I was going through this, where I was like looking at it going, oh, this spell feels like it's got a lot of 10 plus spells. But let's go and have a look at the average. So we can see the lowest casting value. Nearly every spell, every law has a 7 plus spell to cast. Only demonology, high magic don't. And outside of that, you can see that the average is pretty much 9 plus. So it sits right in the middle. 9 plus is the middle, because 7 plus is the lowest we've seen. 11 plus is the highest we've seen. So 9 is in the middle. And pretty much every law of magic has that. The only 2 that stick out are battle magic and war magic, which seem to have an averagely lower casting value for their spells. And with this, I quite liked when I looked at battle magic from a personal perspective. I look at it and go, so they've got a 7 plus spell. They've got an average casting value of 8 plus, which is the lowest of the laws, tied obviously with war magic. But they've also got a 24-inch spell. They've got a 12-inch average range. Just from the stats, and there's more to it, because once you get into the faction focuses, once you get into gameplay and playing on the tabletop, there is a lot more to it. But just from paper, just from the stats and the analysis, and putting that together with experience of playing the game, battle magic does seem to be a law that sticks out as being could be quite good. Could be quite good. And of course, each faction's got their own, magic spells in there as well and stuff. So, you've got to add that to it. But battle magic, just on its own, feels quite nice. And that's kind of my conclusion. I'm not going to tier list any of the laws of magic. I don't feel like that a tier list applies. Because I think tier lists are quite difficult when it comes to things like laws of magic overall, because of how situational things are. I think you can do tier lists of units a lot easier, right? There are clearly units that are good and bad. There are clearly individual spells which are better than others within the laws of magic, but I don't think, I think that every law has good and bad in it. So creating a tier list, I just don't think works well with the laws of magic. So I'm not going to do that. But I just thought, nice to do a bit of a conclusion. We've been through the 8 laws. You listen to it, you read it on paper, but then you have this kind of gut feeling. So sometimes it's nice just to put the numbers down and actually look at it and go, oh, it all felt a bit samey. Oh, well, that's because it is. Oh, battle magic, demonology, and dark magic felt quite good, and battle magic kind of, feels really quite good. Oh, look, well, it's got some stats there that go, maybe it is. Maybe when applied generically across the board, it has a slight edge over the others. Maybe. Hope you enjoyed this video. It was a bit of a rambling video, but I thought it was nice to put some numbers down on paper. Now that we've finished the laws of magic, we are going to start taking a look at magic items. That will be bringing us to the end of the main rulebook. As we come to the end of the main rulebook, you'll all be thrilled to know we move on to faction focuses, and we will be starting with the forces of fantasy. We will be going in order through that book. So the first faction in that book will be the first one we do a faction focus on. But first up will be the magic items. We'll be taking a look at those, and that is the magic items in the main rulebook, and that will bring us to the end of it. Hope you've enjoyed this video though. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Let me know why in the comments down below. And as always, if you want to see more content, hit that subscribe button. It's free for you to do. It means a lot for me, so thank you for that in advance. And thank you to all of those that have subscribed already and our returning viewers. You've been watching The Ghost Owl, and I'll see you all very, very soon.